Good morning, Selena.
Good morning, Miss Six.
Good morning, Israel.
Good morning, Miss Six.
Good morning, Angel.
Good morning, Miss Six. Good morning, Miss Six.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Miss Six.
James, make sure you're sitting up.
I am.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, you can see me.
I should be able to see you. So turn your camera back around.
Hey.
Good morning, Tanya.
Miss Six.
Good morning, Josiani.
Good morning, Miss Six.
Good morning, Jayliani.
Good morning, Miss Six.
Okay, we're gonna get started. So since we're done with our story, so we are moving on to our final story of Jack and Annie, and they are going to the Arctic. So you're gonna learn about the Arctic ecosystem. The Arctic ecosystem. What is the ecosystem about? Because for every place that we went to, we learned about the ecosystem of the place before we even went there. So what are some things that's in the ecosystem? Because it includes a lot of things. Go ahead, Angel.
116 is where are so cold.
Say it again.
Ecosystem is where they are cold.
Where they're cold. Okay, so then the weather is a part of the ecosystem. Well, what else is part of the ecosystem? You have the weather, and what else? Go ahead, Selena.
The living things and plants and animals.
Yeah, so pretty much the ecosystem is about everything that lives there and the weather that's there. So all the plants, all the animals, and what kind of weather. James, you're not sitting up. Sit up, James. All right, so today we're learning about the ecosystem of the Arctic. Before we start, what do you know about the Arctic already? What do you already know about the Arctic? Nothing, nobody knows. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. And let's see if that can help out a little bit. So here's a picture of the Arctic. Because they do a lot of movies that's set in the Arctic. So what do you already know about this place? That the ecosystem is the weather and everything that lives there, like the plants and the animals. So what do you already know about the Arctic? Or what can you tell from this picture? Go ahead, Israel.
It's cold.
It's definitely gonna be cold. Why is it so cold there? What's making it cold?
Wind.
The what?
The wind.
The wind. So that tells you a little bit about the weather. It's probably gonna be wind. All right, James, I'm gonna stop your video because you're becoming a distraction. Your video is going on and off, and I don't know why. You have to stop playing with it. You have to sit up and focus. It's not time for us to be laying down, boys and girls. All right. So you might have wind here, What else do you know about the ecosystem in the Arctic based on this picture? It's cold, it's probably windy. So we learned a lot about windstorms, and if the wind starts blowing here, what's some things that can happen? Good, Angel.
There are heavy snow.
There's a whole lot of snow, and if you have snow, you probably have ice there in the Arctic. All right, so how would we have to dress? How do you have to dress if you go here? How do you think you have to dress? What do you think you have to put on if you happen to go here? Go ahead, Selena.
Jacket.
Yeah, definitely something to keep you warm. So what do you think a lot of the animals are going to have, Selena? What do animals have? Because they're not going to wear jackets, so how will they be warm?
With cozy hair.
Yeah, so we're expecting people to have a lot of thick jackets on. Even a girl here, she has gloves on. And we're expecting animals to have hair. They need something to be warm too, because they're not putting on clothes. So they need their body to adapt to the weather and be warm. All right, so let's talk about the weather. So like we said, it's cold and it's windy. The Arctic tundra is one of the coldest and harshest climates on Earth. So it's so cold that it actually can hurt you because it's so cold. So when you have those extremes, like something being really, really cold or really, really hot, then you have to be really careful so that you're not hurt. So even if it's summertime in the Arctic, it still is cold and you're still gonna have to wear a sweater to keep yourself warm. So it's so cold that the actual inside of your nose will freeze. And that's not gonna be a good feeling if the inside of your nose was freezing. So imagine if you had an ice in your nose, that wouldn't feel good. So here are all the places we've been to: Japan, to Egypt and Africa, the Amazon, the plains close to where we live. And now the Arctic tundra is everything at the top, all the blue that you see at the top. And they're calling it tundra because there are no trees there. There's no trees. It's way too cold for trees to be there. Now, the winter season in the Arctic tundra lasts almost a year long. So for us, our winter season is only a few months. So you have like January and February and December. Those are the winter months. But here in the Arctic tundra, it's lasting for a long time. And sunlight doesn't reach the Arctic in the winter. So when they're in the winter months, it's dark all day and all night. So even when it's daytime, it's still dark outside. And this is called a polar night. So you may not see the sun for 6 months at a time. That means for 6 whole months, you might not see the sun. Now, this is the Arctic tundra summer. So in the summer, you will see the opposite of a polar night and you see a sun at midnight. So this is the midnight sun, and that will be in the sky all night long. So this is during the summer, you might see the sun even throughout the night. You can see the sun even at nighttime. So the sun will get low, but it never completely sets at nighttime. So it was kind of difficult. This is what it looks like. This is a timeline. So here is like noon, kind of the time that we're in right now. The sun's nice and high. And here is the nighttime. And here is the midnight, like late at night where it's black outside for us. It's not black outside for them. It still is a little bright because they can still see the sun. So even though it's covered in snow because it's so cold, but they don't get a whole lot of snowstorms or a whole lot of rainstorms out there. So it's called the cold desert. Now we learned about the Ice Age, and it was cold there during the Ice Age with the woolly mammoth and with the saber-toothed tiger. But there was some grass and things in the Ice Age, but not in the Arctic tundra. There are no trees. So let's go on to the animals. Let's move on to animals. Okay, so what do you notice about all of these animals? What do they all have that's similar? What do you notice about all of them? You have to be looking so that you know. Go ahead, Tanya.
It's the fur is different.
Okay, but what do they all have that's the same?
The their
Or what?
other noses.
Maybe a little, but the owl's nose looks a little different.
Oh yeah, the nose are different.
There's
Different colors and different shapes.
Is their color really different?
Yeah, cause the kitty, cause that one right there, what's next to the polar bear, it looks like it had a pink nose.
Oh, but what about their fur? What is the color of their fur?
The color is white.
Right. Everybody has white fur. Why do you think they all have white fur?
That way they don't get cold in the winter.
See? Why else would all animals have white fur in the tundra? Why would they all be white? What does that do for them? James, what did I tell you to do? Because you didn't do it yet. Sit up, James. It's not time. No, sit all the way up where your back's not on the pillow. Then I can call on you. Why do you think they all are white, James?
Because if they didn't have white skin, they will be freezing.
Not necessarily, right? Because I can have brown fur and not be freezing. Why would all the animals in the Arctic tundra be white? What do you think, Selena?
They all have the same hair.
But why? Why are they all white?
Because they're cold, because they live in where the weather is cold.
Not quite. Having white hair doesn't keep you from being cold. White hair does something else. Why would they all have white hair in the tundra? What do you think, Angel?
They can hide.
Yeah, because they're trying to hide. A lot of these animals that are here, some of them are predators and they eat other things. So they need to be able to blend in. And if the tundra is mostly white because of the snow and the ice is there, them having white hair is really going to protect them. So here's an ermine and the Arctic fox, the snowy owl, and the Arctic wolf. You know, these are some animals that are not predators. These are herbivores that you might see, like the lemming, which kind of looks like a little mouse, caribou, the ox, and the hare, which is a bunny. And the caribou, you can also call reindeer. They're also called reindeer. So you have some ocean animals that live there, like the walrus and the narwhal. And they are animals that live, of course, in the water in Arctic tundra. And then you have polar bears who kind of live on the coastline so that they can eat some things that live on land and eat some of the things that live in the water. Now, there's some animals that only come to the Arctic tundra during the summertime. So you have birds that come to the Arctic so that they can have a nice and safe place to rest and to raise their children. So that could be birds, ducks, geese, and swans. They might fly, millions of them. There's so many here. Millions fly into the Arctic during the summer months, which we know is not very long. The summer is not long at all. Now, penguins don't necessarily live at the top in the Arctic tundra. They live underneath in Antarctica. So they might survive, but most penguins live in the other part of the world. So you don't see most penguins up here in the Arctic tundra. You'll see them at the bottom of the world. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the fact that a lot of our animals that live in the Arctic are endangered species because of a couple of things. Because of one, people hunting them for different things, maybe for their hair, for their clothes, or to eat them. And others because maybe people are destroying their habitation, like building things there or whatever the case may be. And also another big thing is the temperature getting warm. Because these animals rely on places that are super, super cold. So if it gets too warm, they can't really live there. So you have a lot of scientists and animal supporters working on ways to fix these type of things. So maybe when you get older, you might decide that you want to be on teams with other people who work to try to keep these animals from being extinct by working on ways to help them survive. All right, here are some things. So there was a lot of details that you learned today about the Arctic tundra. So see if you can think of one about the ecosystem, about the Arctic tundra. What can you think of that you can share? What can you think of? Go ahead, Israel.
That the animals that wait here to hide.
Say it again.
That the animals that wait here to hide.
That's a good one. So we know the animals have white hair to hide. Now this week when you do your writing, you are coming up with your own main topic sentence. But one way to come up with a main topic sentence is to think about all the details that you have first. And if you could think about the details, it might be easy for you to decide, well, what was it all about? So a good detail is that the animal's white hair helps them hide. Okay, what else do you remember about the ecosystem in the Arctic tundra? Go ahead, Selena.
The polar bear is a predator. He thinks of water and land.
All right, so we have polar bears are predators. And he's that on the water and he's that in land. He's eating from both. What else? Go ahead, Angel.
There are there's so much penguins, and there are so much polar bears.
There are polar bears, but there aren't penguins. Remember, because the penguins don't live in the Arctic tundra. They live in Antarctica. So there are polar bears. What other things can you remember about the ecosystem? What other things do you remember? What can you tell me about the weather? We didn't talk about the weather, so what's the weather like there? What's the weather like there, Israel?
The weather is cold.
It's super cold. And what do you see everywhere?
Snow.
Snow. Even though it doesn't snow, like you won't see snow falling from the sky, but it's so cold that you will see snow everywhere. And of course, with snow, you're going to get, with it being cold, it's going to get windy. What do you remember about day and night there? What do you remember about day and night? What was the strange thing about their days and nights? Go ahead, Andrew.
The sun stays up.
Yeah, that it could be midnight, but if it's in the summer, the sun is still out. So the summer midnight has the sun out.
As this season. Two more. I got to poop really quick.
Oh, what's one more thing? What else happens to the night? Or what happens to the nights and days in the winter months? So in the summer, you still see the sun, but in the winter months, which is really long, what happens to the nighttime? Go ahead, Josiane.
It snows.
No, remember we said it doesn't snow. It just is so cold that snow forms. But what happens to the night?
That it gets so cold and windy.
Not quite. They didn't tell us that it gets colder at night or windy at night. What did they tell us happens to the night in the winter? Go ahead, Selena.
So it was summer, but the animal that likes summer, the one that was cold, they used to live in the ice where it was very cold.
Okay, but what happens to the night in the winter? Really weird happens with nighttime. What do you think, Israel?
The night lasts longer.
Yeah, their nights can last for months. So they can go months and months and months and never see the sun. I think they said 6 months, I think. But they can go months without any sun. So can you imagine living somewhere and not seeing the sun for months, and you keep waking up and going to sleep and the sun is never coming out because it's the winter months? That's really weird. And with no sun, it's dark. It's not only weird, but it's dark. We're talking about it being dark. All right, so here are your details. White hair helps them hide. Polar bears are predators. It's cold and windy. The summer midnight has a sun, but the winter months don't have any sun. It could be no sun for a long time. So then the question is, what is the main topic? What were all of these details about? What were we talking about? What were we talking about? What's the main topic? Go ahead, Josiane.
The main topic is about that that it kept them warm.
No, that's a detail. I don't want a detail. I want you to think about the main topic. What was everything that we were talking about? What are we talking about today?
The Arctic ecosystem.
Yeah, we're talking about the ecosystem, and in particular, the Arctic Tundra's ecosystem. So if you had to write, which you don't today, but if you had to write, your first sentence would be, this is the Arctic Tundra's ecosystem, or I learned about the Arctic, or this is the weather in the Arctic, or these are the animals in the Arctic. But whatever your topic sentence was, it would have to say something about the Arctic and its ecosystem. So keep that in mind, because tomorrow you have to do this. Tomorrow you have to decide what your topic sentence is, because we've been working hard to create one together, but you want to be able to create one on your own based on the facts that you have. Are there any questions before you go? Good. All right. Let me just double check. Alrighty. Bye, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Liani, don't forget to stay on. Bye, everybody.